Namaste and good morning, everyone. Let's start our Wednesday class and recite these prayers first. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Om Bhubhava Swaha, Tatsavitra Varenayam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat. Asto ma satgamya, tamso ma jyotirgamya, mrityorma amritam gamya. Om Sena Bhavatu, Sena Bhunaktu, Saviryam Karvavahi, Tejasvi Navaditamastu, Ma Vidvishavahi. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Last week we talked about some basic fundamentals of Hinduism. And I talked about the sanskars also, the sacraments. And I told you each sanskar is performed with Agni. Agni. In our Hindu culture, from the ancient time, fire was a great, important thing, very important place for fire. Every ritual, every temple, every household, Agni, fire. So it's not surprising that Sanskrit language provides many words for fire in addition to the common term Agni. Some words for fire are highly descriptive. For example, Dahan. Dahan means burning. Jawalan, shining. Saptarachi. Sapt means seven tongues, which are based upon seven roles of fire. Seven archi. Jat Vedasaya, that is a name for fire as a sacrificial fire. Hutasan. Hutasan is a consumer of sacrificial offerings. When we put the ghee, we put samagri. Hutasan. Vahni. Vahni is which conveys blessings. Vahni word comes from Vahan. It carries the blessings. And in addition to these important symbolic meaning is expressed in the very first verse of Rig Veda. It starts with Om Agnim Ilehe Purohitam. I worship fire, Agni, as the Purohita. Purohit means as the priest or a meditator. Or I praise that priest, praise that Agni who consumes sacrificial offerings with its flaming mouths and conveys them to the heavens, to the deities being worshipped. We saw in Bhagavad Gita also, fire is given other important symbolic meanings. Lord Krishna refers to fire as Gyan Agni, the fire of knowledge, the blazing spiritual wisdom that burns away or destroys ignorance of our true nature. Gyan Agni. Gita also refers to fire as Kam Agni, the fire of desire. Calm Agni represents our passionate craving for pleasurable experiences of all kinds. Calm Agni. I think you are familiar with Bhagavad Gita. So, chapter 3, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, Avritam Jnanam Etena Jnanino Nitya Varina Kam Rupena Kaunteya Dushpurena Analena Cha. Over here, Lord Krishna is using Anal as a term for fire. Analena Cha. Knowledge of your true nature, he says, is hidden by desire. It's like a cloud, a thick cloud of your desires. Calm, he says, is the enemy of the wise, as insatiable as fire. The word used for fire is Analam. Sanskrit words are very deep. If we break down this Analam word, An means not. Alam means enough. So Analam means that which never has enough, that which is never satisfied. No matter how many desires we fulfill, the more arise. Analam. So it's a perfect word to describe fire's insatiable appetite for fuel. No matter how much wood is thrown in the fire, it will quickly consume it all and be eager for more. We see that in the fire pits or in our fireplaces. Consumes all the wood. Our desires are just like that. No matter how many cravings we satisfy, we are always eager for more pleasure. New desires arise as quickly as old ones are satisfied. For example, after eating a splendid lunch at your favorite restaurant, you will feel hungry again in just a few hours. Desire to eat. And same is true for other desires also. You have a desire to go on a vacation. Before you go there, some people already plan for another one. Insatiable desire. You want to buy something, you see something else there or somebody else having it, you have a desire to have that too. That is called Kam Agni. Kam Agni. So after satisfying a particular desire, your appetite for pleasure is only temporary appeased. Temporary. Before long, you will want something else. Want to go somewhere else. Such is the fire of desire. A never-ending succession of desires dictates many of our daily activities. Because if we didn't have the desire to take care of our family, we won't even go to work. And that's how we mold our lives to a surprising extent. Let's distinguish. It's like a difference between these two. It is important to distinguish such desires from the others. So desire to take care of your body, desire to take care of your family, desire to take care of your parents, desire to do your duties. So it's very important to distinguish such desires from others that lack the power to compel us. For example, a little child is hungry, goes to the kitchen at breakfast time, looking forward to enjoying a bowl of her or his favorite cereal. A lot of kids, they love Fruit Loops. The child looks inside the pantry. There are a lot of other boxes of cereals, but no box of Fruit Loops. She cries. She couldn't fulfill her desire. On the other hand, suppose her mother also wants Fruit Loops for breakfast, and when she finds none in the pantry, she will simply choose another box of cereal. This is the difference. Mother won't get upset because her desire for Fruit Loops was completely different from her child's. She merely wanted the Fruit Loops, whereas her daughter felt a need for them. So these are the two key words we got to keep in mind. Want and need. This difference between wanting and needing helps us distinguish simple preferences from compelling desires. When a preference goes unfulfilled, there's no problem. But when a compelling desire goes unfulfilled, it's a different matter altogether. So we are driven to fulfill our desires. It is almost like we are slaves to them. So now question is, how can we break free from being compelled by our desires? How not to be a slave to our desires? Is there any way to satiate them at all? Suppose I try that. For example, a fire's appetite for fuel by throwing on a huge heap of wood. So I think I can satiate it by doing it. But as a result, the fire will grow larger. We all know that. Engorged by all that fuel, and it will consume the wood even more easily because the flames have become bigger and stronger and hotter. It will consume it very fast. So this describes what happens when we overindulge our desires, when we pamper ourselves to excess. Overindulgence can turn luxuries into necessities. Luxuries into necessities. Just remember that. A lot of luxuries we live with, they have become necessities for us. That's how we have weakened ourselves. Let me give you a simple example. A person occasionally wants to have a special cup of cappuccino from a special cafe, occasionally. And that's a luxury for that person, a nice treat. Now and then, sure, he wants to enjoy it. But if the same person indulge in this treat too frequently, it can become a necessity. That necessity will compel that person to drive to that cafe every single morning for that cappuccino. So what is the solution to the problem of desire then? If we cannot appease it by fulfilling it, what is the other way we can do it? Because it is a problem. We are slaves to our desires. How do we become master? Some people say the abstinence could be the solution. But unfortunately, abstinence doesn't work either. Consider the same person who drives every single morning, compelled by the desire for his favorite cup of cappuccino. And he wants to overcome that desire, break free from its compulsion. Might simply refrain from going to the cafe the next morning. But how will that affect him? What will he be thinking? All day long. Coffee, coffee, coffee. So he can abstain from drinking coffee, but that won't remove his desire for it. Because desire has taken a housing. In the mind. So if no more wood is added to the fire, it won't simply go out. Not right away. Its burning embers will continue to smolder for a very long time. Because we have been trying to fulfill these desires for countless lifetimes. There's too many embers out there. Deep pile of it. So if you merely abstain from satisfying desires, they won't simply disappear. They will continue to smolder for a very long time. And long before the fire of desire finally dies out, you are likely to succumb to its insistent demands and kindle it again. You see somebody else going there, and you will say, oh, one more time will not hurt. But you are kindling that fire again. And it's not just only a cup of cappuccino or a coffee. We have countless desires. Countless. So how can this burning fire of desire be extinguished once and for all? Because unless we get rid of this mesh of desires, we are not going to see our true light. This is needed. The solution is found by going to the root of the problem. The root cause for desire, as taught by our scriptures, Vedas, is what? Ignorance. Ignorance of your true nature. It's called avidya also, it's called agyan also. So if you truly knew your divine inner self to be innately full and complete, then you would always feel content. And compulsive desires wouldn't bother you anymore. Because contentment is coming from the real source, not from a temporary source. You can have a cup of coffee. It's not a compulsion then. You can go on vacation, but it's not a compulsion. You are not going there to be happy or to satisfy yourself. You are not meeting certain person to complete yourself because you know you are already complete. When you look at your true nature. But failing to recognize your innate fullness, you will naturally feel like something is missing. Something is missing. You will feel insufficient. You will feel inadequate. You will feel incomplete. Because nothing in this objective world can complete you. Nothing and nobody. No place. And as a result, you will desire anything that can help you feel better, because we want to feel better. That is our inner nature. So in this way, desire arises because your divine nature is covered by a veil of ignorance that prevents you from recognizing it as the true source of happiness, contentment, source of bliss, source of peace. To remove that veil of ignorance, what is required? Knowledge. That's why only the Gyan Agni can extinguish the Kam Agni. Knowledge of your true nature. Knowledge that can burn away the veil of ignorance and reveal the vast fullness within. That very knowledge can be gained through the teachings of Vedas. That's where that knowledge is. Upanishads teach us that. Gita teaches us that. In chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna refers to this knowledge very clearly. This is a verse number 37 on chapter number 4. Yatha edhansi samriddho agnir bhasmat kurute arjuna gyan agni sarv karmani bhasmat kurute tatha. So he says, oh Arjuna, like blazing fire reduces wood to ashes, so too the fire of knowledge destroys all actions or karma. Because all those karmas which we have done, not as a karma yogi, what happened? They became our vasanas, our desires, our sanskars, and we need to burn those. That's what he's talking about. So the actions that are compelled by our desires. So that's why there's a sakam karam, nishkam karam. Lord Krishna teaches us to convert first your sakam karam into nishkam karam. So the fire of knowledge kindled by the spiritual teachings can eliminate the fire of desires. Remember that. By burning away the ignorance that caused desires to blaze up in the first place. Okay, so just like ignorance made that Kam Agni higher and higher. So Gyan Agni can extinguish that Kam Agni. When the ignorance covering your true nature is removed, you will recognize your innate fullness and you will feel perfectly content. That is when you have broken free from being compelled by desires. So spirituality fights fire with fire, in a manner of speaking. Okay? Just like iron cuts iron, glass cuts glass, diamond cuts diamond. There's a fire extinguishes the fire. One kind of a fire extinguishes the other kind of a fire. So the fire of desire, Kam Agni, is reduced to ashes in the fire of knowledge, the Gyan Agni. That is truly wonderful, but Gyan Agni can often be difficult to kindle. Kam Agni, very easy to kindle. You be in the company of somebody whose desires are immense, pretty soon your desires will be like that too. But Gyan Agni is difficult to kindle because the desires will continue. Have you ever tried to start a fire in a pile of wet wood? We all know that dry wood catches fire fairly easily, but if wood is wet, you can strike match after match to light the wood. But you cannot kindle the fire. We are a bit like that. this pile of wet wood, especially at the beginning of our spiritual journey. Wet wood isn't ready to burn, and we might not be ready for the spiritual teachings. Even though you listen to those teachings, because these days all of this is available. Information age we are living through. So you can listen to somebody again and again, Gyan Agni will not be kindled unless you are fully prepared. We need to prepare ourselves by undergoing the preliminary training which is needed to grasp the essence of those teachings. It's not just reading Bhagavad Gita, not just reciting the mantras from the Vedas. We got to go a little deeper into it. Spend some time. A mature, prepared student is like dry wood. And Gyan Agni is easily kindled. But most of us begin our studies lacking the full measure of spiritual maturity, which is needed. And that prevents the fire of knowledge from being ignited. It's there, but we are not prepared. Fortunately, the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, the Vedas themselves, help us gain that necessary spiritual maturity. And they prepare us. Let me explain. If you try to light wet wood, it won't catch fire right away. But each match helps dry out the wood in that little portion. So the rest of it still wet, but that little portion gets dried up. By lighting many matches, the wood gradually gets dried up and will eventually go up in flames. So that means it has to stay close to the fire. So wet wood will get dried if it stays close to the fire. So in the same way, repeated listening to the teachings of Vedas will help us gain the necessary degree of spiritual maturity. Slowly, but surely. And when you are sufficiently prepared, Gyan Agni will blaze forth. And it will happen effortlessly then, spontaneously, destroying the ignorance and revealing your true nature. Fire, we see the symbol of a fire in our temples. Even in the churches, we see the candles. So this symbol is everywhere. And this is what the symbol really means. All those who burn with the fire of knowledge can ignite others. Like using one candle to light the other. That's what happens. That's why these temples and the churches or other religious places are for. To light, to dry, to let go of the worldly desires. Just like the flame can be passed from one lamp to the next, the fire of knowledge has been passed on from one teacher to the student. For many, many generations. Each pair of lamps represent teacher and student. One is igniting, that's a teacher, and the other one is being ignited, that's the student. Guru and Shishya. The entire line of lamps represents our parampara, lineage of teachers. Every teacher was a student also, and every student can be a teacher also. But the maturity has to be there, spiritual maturity. Looking at this lineage or the parampara, you might ask, how did the first lamp got lit? Where did that the first teacher came about? How did he know? How did the Gyan Agni got kindled in the first place? Where did that Agni come from? You all know, last week also we were talking about the ancient scriptures of India, the Vedas. Those teachings began with the rishis, the sages of ancient India, who were uniquely blessed in the ability to gain this knowledge independently without being taught. They could just sit and connect. And whatever came from their mouth, those are the Vedic mantras. Those are the ancient teachings. They were the first to discover these truths. In the scientific world also, don't we see that 300 years ago, no one taught Sir Isaac Newton about the principles of motion and gravity? He discovered these principles on his own. He did not keep it to himself. What did he do? He passed his knowledge on to the later generations of scientists. And this is what our rishis did. They did not say that we know this Prakriti, this Purush, Brahma, Om. They did not hold it. The students came to them and these teachers, these seers, the sages, they encouraged those students, go out, live your life based upon this principle, and then spread these teachings. So the truth first discovered by the rishis were passed down through the ages. Long time it was passed down orally. The last of these lamps represent those gurus who are alive today. And the next lamps to be lit could represent you. Anybody who's eager for the fire of knowledge to be ignited, in a time can ignite somebody else's lamp also. So for the students who are relatively mature, just a little spark or flame may be all that's needed to ignite the fire of knowledge within. But for the students who lack the complete degree of preparation needed, there's a special benefit in studying the scriptures under the guidance of a great teacher who burns brightly. Because more intense the heat is, more bright the light is, the easier our wet wood can get dried up. But the company has to be there. We got to be in the company of that kind of a teacher or guru. So wet wood dries out quickly if it's stacked up right next to a blazing fire. And we all know that. So the same way the students who associate with a wise, skillful, caring guru will quickly be prepared for Gyan Agni to burst forth in flaming glory. Sometimes we say where to find these gurus. First that eagerness has to be in us also. This little knowledge that, hey, and understanding that I need this. Like, how did you find a great university for yourself to study? You had to do some homework. You knew that what you want to do, learn academically, then you searched. The same thing for this also. Otherwise, each time we come around, because this keeps on going, the cycle keeps on going. Each time we come back, there are more things to see, more people to meet, more short-term goals to fulfill. By doing that, we are creating that veil thicker and thicker. It's not that our true nature diminishes. Our true nature is still there. It's not gone away, but we are not aware of it. It's like keep on pouring the water on that log. If you keep on pouring the water, on the other hand, we are keeping it close to the flame, what will happen? It will stay back. This is sometimes we do as a spiritual student also. We attend classes, we do some sadhana, so we dry ourselves a little bit, but more than that, we just wet ourselves when we just get lost into this material world. So if we want to burn our Agni, we got to remember this principle. Got to be prepared, got to become mature, know ourselves in the real sense, who we are. And that's where the complete contentment, complete fulfillment, that's how we feel that, yes, I am doing what I was supposed to do in this human life. And that's what's called Krit Kritya. You feel Krit Kritya. Okay? So let's stop it here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaye Purnameva Vishishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much.